Salesforce.com has announced the launch of Triumph 2.0, which is an event offering exclusive career opportunities for women, the LGBTQ plus community, and persons with disabilities, enabling job seekers to access top jobs across the board. Now, we have the opportunity today to speak with the management of Monster and also get a sense of how they're seeing the job market evolving. To speak on this, I'm joined now by Chandra Sekhar Garisa, CEO of Monster India. Sekhar, great to have you back on the show. Let's begin by talking a bit about Triumph 2.0 and what you're looking forward to here.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Tamanna. Yeah, we're very excited about Triumph. We started Triumph last year as a diversity and inclusion platform. What we wanted to do, apart from obviously the one that you mentioned around creating job opportunities for diversity talent, was to create a larger platform where we bring together the candidates, the recruiters, the HR leaders, and thought leaders and influencers in this space. So last year was the first time we did it, and the response was overwhelming. In the first year itself, it became the largest D&I event in the country. We had about 50 million impressions, had more than 25 business leaders from across the world speaking on the platform, inspiring thousands of people who were listening in. We had the hackathon to unearth India's best women coder, and we had more than 70,000 people participating in one of the largest career fairs that we've seen in this country. So it was a phenomenal response we had last year, which gave us a lot of encouragement that what we're doing is in the right direction. We all know that diversity and inclusion as a topic is one of the top priorities that every business leader is driving now. Yeah. And we believe that we have responsibility not just as an employer, but as a leading talent platform to further this cause. And therefore, Triumph 2.0, which kicks off today, is much larger and bigger. We are hoping to get more than 100 million impressions this year. We have more than 100,000 registrations already. So it's already much larger in terms of scale compared to last year. Some really phenomenal business leaders who are going to be part of the event, speaking and inspiring people. So super exciting time for us, Tamanna.
In terms of conversion to actual job offers, what are you hoping for, and what do you hope to see, Sekhar?
So we have close to 2,000 jobs on offer on the platform now. We have a little over 100,000 people who have already registered. Many of them would come in, they take the assessments, they kind of validate their credentials and then appear for the interviews. But that said, while we will have whatever number of job offers out of those 2,000 plus opportunities that we have converted during these 4 days, we also have a program which goes beyond the 3-4 days of the event. So, each of these 100,000 plus participants who register and are available, make themselves available for the career fair, as long as they have the right credentials, we have the right job for them.
So I want to understand what kind of a response you really see from corporate India, because this diversity in the workplace is a great slogan. But do you think large companies are taking this seriously in letter and spirit, or is it something that just looks good as a marketing pitch?
I think there was a time that most of us felt that, it is obviously the right thing to do. So everybody makes the right noises about it. Yeah. But I do have to say it's very heartening to see in the last few years that almost every organization, large or small, really believes in the power of diversity and inclusion, both in letter and spirit. And there are different barriers for both. Having a diverse organization, to some extent, people have figured out how to go about it, because you have targets across teams about, how you need to accommodate people from all kinds of backgrounds. And you have events like Triumph, which will help organizations get to those numbers by showcasing diversity talent. So I think the diversity part of it, people know how to set a concrete plan against, go about it, execute. Inclusion is a tougher one because it deals with massive change management across the organization. So almost everyone wants to make sure that, they're an inclusive organization. But the path to get to the right kind of inclusivity where everybody feels that they're welcomed in the organization, they feel truly empowered and independent to give their best, that I think is a challenge that organizations are still grappling with. But that said, in terms of the intent and the commitment that organizations have, Tamanna, I do have to say that there is real, genuine effort that we're seeing across the organizations. Even for Triumph, we've reached out to many organizations. In fact, we had Irina Ghosh, who's the COO of Microsoft, addressing the audience today. We have Sindhu Gangadharan, MD of SAP, addressing the audience tomorrow. And these are like really strong business leaders who are volunteering to be on the platform and furthering the cause. I think there's real momentum gathering. Much has been done in the past couple of years, but at the same time, I think all of us understand and acknowledge that there's still a long way to go. But it's very, very heartening to see that it has now, it's not just a fancy slogan anymore, all the way from board conversations to, coffee table conversations. It's all pervasive now. I feel very hopeful and positive about the direction that
Do
we're
you
taking.
think the pandemic has contributed in a way to this big difference once hybrid work and, it didn't matter what location you are, work from anywhere has become par for the course, and this has opened up more opportunities for inclusion in the workplace?
Absolutely. I mean, you obviously have a workplace now which is way more flexible than what it was prior to the pandemic. So that offers a lot of flexibility for women and people with disabilities to be able to do the job without having to go through the hassles of making themselves appear at the workplace. So clearly, workplaces in general have become more flexible, and when you have more flexible workplaces, it is definitely a little more easier for women and folks with disabilities to be able to work without going through a lot of trouble. So I think that's definitely contributed uh, to organizations feeling a lot more comfortable accommodating diversity talent. And I think it's also to the credit of the organizations, managers, and even the employees that they've taken to the new normal with a lot of gusto. And it's heartening to see. I mean, women participation in employment has gone up. People don't have to make those sacrifices because they need to be in the office anymore. In general, I think organizations and workplaces becoming flexible post-pandemic has definitely been a boost for inclusivity and diversity in workforce.
That's interesting because the aim is to take women's participation in the labor force up to 50% by 2047, and that's
Yeah,
something we
yeah.
should
I
work
think,
towards.
Taman, if I may add, I think what needs to happen is focusing on diversity at all levels.
Yeah.
You have some natural roles where you can hire a lot more women, and therefore, the ratios at the organization might get skewed. But there are some important questions to be asked. Do you have enough women in engineering? Do you have enough women at all levels? Do you have enough women in leadership positions? So for us to truly get to a point where all of us feel comfortable that we have a really equitable workforce, those questions, those second degree questions, second order questions need to be asked now.
I want to get your overview on where we are with jobs and the return of jobs. So, we've been having these conversations regularly over the last couple of years, and you've always said that things are improving, but we're not quite back to pre-pandemic levels. Has that changed? Are we back to, say, the 2019 kind of appetite for employment?
I have to say so. I mean, this month when we published our MEI, it was 1% growth, more or less flat, if you would kind of approximate it to. We are at definitely pre-pandemic levels, and we've been talking about: are we seeing slowdown? Has the bad news in the some of the startups, has it percolated down to the
Yes.
general organizations? And we had those questions. And I think just in the past week, we had three of the largest IT services organizations giving out some news around, delay of variable pay, bonuses, kind of sending out signals that maybe, it's all not as hunky dory as it was before. But that said, I think in technology, we still haven't seen any slowdown in hiring. We still haven't seen any slowdown in hiring at all.
Even in the IT space where they're not giving all of their bonuses?
No, we haven't. I mean, so what's happening is it's still, a market where demand is chasing supply. The salary levels have become a little more practical, which I've always maintained is a good development for the industry as a whole, even for the candidates as a whole. It's always good to have a right balance between what you bring to the table and what you get paid. So I think the salary levels have gotten a little muted, not the crazy levels that we were seeing earlier, where people would routinely expect a 60 to 80% hike when they switch jobs. But in terms of the opportunities available, the hiring, most of our customer conversations are about how we should be able to help them to find more candidates than the other way around. So I mean, we still are pretty much in a market, especially in IT, where demand is chasing supply.
I want to get your view, Shekhar, on a very interesting debate that is going on now about moonlighting. And this obviously started off with Swiggy announcing its moonlighting policy. Then you had a major IT company saying it's cheating if you're moonlighting. Where do you stand on this debate? And is this something which a lot of employees are trying to do, have a plan B, whether their companies know about it or not?
Yeah, it's an interesting debate, Taman, and I personally find it tough to take sides on this one. Because personally, I'm the kind who would think that, if you are occupied with a full-time job with an organization, right, it is kind of tough both from a time as well as mind space perspective to do something else. Gone are the days where we had fixed time jobs that you had to be present in the office between 9 and 5, and then the rest of the time, you're pretty much free to do whatever you want. Most of the jobs now, especially if you take out the entry level positions, demand that you do problem solving to an extent. When you do problem solving to an extent, you have to have the mind space to think about the challenges that you are solving in the workspace. Right? And from that perspective, I'm a little skeptical that moonlighting is something that is helpful to the organizations, or for that matter, even to the candidates beyond a point. I mean, if you are in a job where the expectation is that you would be available for fixed hours, outside of the hours, you don't have any obligations of the job, sure, you should be able to do it. But if you're in a job which is slightly senior or involves a lot of problem solving, I would find it tough to believe that anyone will be able to juggle multiple opportunities together. So I'm leaning towards the corner where moonlighting, I think in the long run, is not going to be helpful for either the organization who's given them full-time employment, or even the candidate to be able to get themselves assimilated into the organization, their learning curve. I'm really skeptical if it's a good thing. But if you have a fixed time job, you're a delivery boy, you're working in a manufacturing setup. Yeah, of course, your hours are your own after you're done with your work.
Yeah, what about work-life balance? That's another thing employees want as well. Anyway, great speaking with you, Shekhar, as always. Thank you for joining us
Thank you
today.
so much, Tamanna. Lovely talking to you.